This is week 21, vlog 21, and I'm recording this on the 15th of March on Friday, and I just finished the work week and I'm reflecting on it today. I have to say that this week has been the most distracting week, as in, I couldn't really concentrate a lot in my designs. A couple of reasons why, I think. Whenever I would sit down to create and progress the design, I would sort of have very intense thoughts about many different situations. And I couldn't really work more than 30 to 40 minutes without having to be distracted with something and having to stand up for a few minutes and then come back to it. It sort of felt that I was forcing myself to come back to it. Primarily, I think it's because I'm going through those times where I'm very near in finishing the designs. I have two more left before I spice things up, aka change what's the normal routine of mine. And my mind sort of thinks about the next step and then how great that will be, or how I can do it better, or how many layers of different things that I can put in, that I sort of try to calm myself in getting through what I'm doing now without having to rush it, and at the same time without having to sort of destroy what I've been building. That hasn't been affected. My quality has actually been improving, and I've done actually quite a lot this week, despite my sort of distracting state, um, or distracted state. That sounds better. um, But in terms of what I've been doing this week on the composition side, I'm going to be pumping up the numerical sort of sequence of the composition, and I have officially finished 3, 4, and 5. Well, in the fourth part, there's some background shadow things that needs to be done, but I found them sort of unnecessary at the moment, as I would like to put the other things first, aka section 7, 8, and 6, a little bit better. Um, and I have left today in section 6. I've did the measurements, not all of it, but I'm sort of like 30% into it, so it's pretty good. I'm close to finishing this, and I don't really have a grasp of time in my mind. In a weird way, it doesn't really matter anymore the time, because I've been adding different sort of things onto my plate for this theme. That having a realistic sort of date is great, but I don't think I'm going to be reaching it in a timely fashion, as I have many things that I want to get into. But regardless, at the same time as I was working on on my theme and my design this week, I decided to sort of start this other thing that I found lying around, this past hobby of mine, that I had the idea of putting this memorabilia into frames and making as many frames as I can with the materials that I have, and selling it to generate some income for the leeway and the exploration part of the theme that I'm working on. So my mind has been divided between the stonemason and this new endeavor that I feel it's a great catch, and I'm putting sort of my energy towards that as well. So the way that I would go, I would sort of spend my day working the stonemason in the morning, and come afternoon when I would usually finish the stonemason and do my sort of cleaning of what has been going on the website, or some writing or reading. I picked up the new thing, the new sort of framing of this memorabilia, so I can get that ball rolling. And I think by next week I will have that up and running. So I could sort of again leave that to decide whatever happens. If there is interest, if there is not, I did my best. So that has been a thing that I've been working on this week as well. And I've been enjoying the development of the Stonemason and my ability to sort of look at other things at the same time as I'm working on it. Because usually I would think that, oh, I have to spend all my time on this and dedicate every living moment of the day that I'm awake on it. And with the recent findings and sort of my mindset on how I would sort of progress it at a state where it's okay, and then use that energy to sort of interact with other parts of my day in different other aspects, so I can sort of elevate it and at the same time bring back to the actual thing that I've been working on in a much greater and much more improved way, because I'm opening my mind into different aspects of life and of how I'm feeling and sort of interacting with the world. For example, as I was working on the design, um, I I had this idea story wise after many back and forth of different things and whatnot, that given that there is a war that I'm sort of depicting as an overstate of the story that I'm writing, that in the opposite faction of the war that this character has been fighting for, what if he found in his sort of time where he was actually fighting the war, what if he found letters and ways to humanize the opposite faction that he was raised to believe that they are subhumans, and sort of like the scum of the earth, or all these adjectives that make someone detest a human and no longer think of them as human. And when he found how similar they were, how that affected his mental state. Because in many of my readings and my research of this war and any type of war, the most sort of heard examples are these atrocities that you would hear someone create, but the average of people who are fighting wars or who are there are in this extreme sort of one-sided degenerates that people would sort of look and suggest. And I really wanted to give this neutrality behind my message, and at the same time show that humans are humans no matter their circumstances. And in many of my knowledge and my perspective of this is always sort of this idea that has been implemented, and people who are following without being reasoned into. And I found that as an interesting perspective. I don't know how it will work exactly, but I'm gonna attempt it. I haven't written it yet, as I am sort of now that I'm designing the specific section of the part of the story that this will work well. I've made some notes, but after I finish the design and the other two, I'm gonna go back and actually start implementing these interactions that you would have with the designs, and see that, okay, I need X amount of quick sketches or X amount of letters and whatnot. So I've made a note to do it later. But it's been interesting. My growth in the story and how I see things has been becoming much more frequent, but at the same time natural. And I think it has to do with the part of the point that I've been making in many of the logs up to now, that I'm broken my patterns of, I no longer do things similarly, and with that, I'm able to grow and facilitate growth with it, because I am able to let go of things. And I think when you're able to let go of things rather than hold on to things, you're growing in whatever context or whatever sort of situation you want to apply this with. The ability to realize that, well, in my definition, an easier road to traverse is something that is familiar and something that has been working for you now and it's a comfort zone versus the I don't know what's going to happen next and I have to keep moving forward to find out, which is this theme. Like at the beginning, I had an idea, but the more I implement it, I don't really know how it's going to develop stage to stage. I, of course, know the context of things, but how it's going to grow and how it's going to shape is such a big question mark, which is the fundamental part of my drive to know that I am not repeating things. And it's important for me because I'm given this time and fortune in this part of my life to really develop this skill and at the same time this intimate part of me as a character, as a person, as a being or whatever, and to implement the sensitivity that I wish the world was able to sort of eloquently speak upon without having to be judged, and at the same time show that this sort of status that people have and people uphold doesn't just magically appear, and it always is at a cost of your authenticity. So I've been doubling with those thoughts, and it's been great for me. I have to say, and the development of this theme, and even the speed that I'm going on right now. I no longer work full days. I no longer sort of hammer down the specific thing because I realize that especially this week of me not being super, being distracted all the time. I realize that it's not required for you to physically do things in immense hours of the day. It's great to physically do something, and then retract and do some living, or life can teach you some words, some phrases, some feelings that you're gonna come back and put into it. It's something that I've been talking about in flow as well. That you need that, but I think I haven't really comprehended it back then. That on how to do it, and now it's sort of slowly becoming more apparent, given that I internalize a lot of things. I don't really externalize them other than my logs. I don't really talk about this theme. I don't really open up to people about it as I used to with my previous theme, which is interesting. The dichotomies of how different those two are and how the approaches are different now, which is fascinating. So yeah, this was week 21, and the remaining few, I think 2 weeks, I'm gonna be finishing the last three sections, 6, 7, and 8. I think 7 and 8 can be done in a week, and even 6, 7 can be done in this week, and then the next week is just finishing number 8, which is a lot of things to do on there, and then just seeing everything together. The good thing about me designing and sort of progressing with sort of the section by section, I do the shadows and I do the lights, and it's not just outlines that I have to fill in afterwards. So I can easily sort of tweak the values within a week and be satisfied with the outcome. So yeah. Let's see how the next week treats us, and I'm really excited to see this design actually completed because it's very different from the previous three, and it's sort of setting up a different trajectory of the story and my ability to really go in depth with it.